Hello there and welcome back to my review of OneReason's Apologetics booklet, The Eternal Challenge, A Journey Through the Miraculous Qur'an. I am of course continuing with the chapter titled The Hereafter, so with that noted, let us continue. You might find all this talk of tests, the Day of Judgment and Paradise and Hell overwhelming. But what we must all remember is that God is the most compassionate and most merciful. He has made it easy for us to be successful in the hereafter, if we really want to. How can this be the case? First, God has given us a consciousness, like an internal radar, which helps us distinguish right from wrong in order to help us steer our lives towards good. By the soul and how He formed it and inspired it to know its own rebellion and piety. When God puts our moral compass to the test, He tailors the test to each of us as individuals, taking into account our strengths and weaknesses. God does not burden any soul with more than it can bear. God is perfect and free of error. However, He knows we are not. Therefore, when we fall short and make mistakes, He forgives us if we repent. My servants who have harmed yourselves by your own excess, do not despair of God's mercy. God forgives all sins. He is truly the most forgiving, the most merciful. When we do good deeds, they are much heavier on the scales compared to evil deeds. Whoever has done a good deed will have it 10 times to his credit, but whoever has done a bad deed will be repaid only with its equivalent. They will not be wronged. Finally, God has even sent detailed answers for how to pass the tests in the form of the Qur'an and Prophet Muhammad. The Messenger of God is an excellent model for those of you who put your hope in God and the last day and remember Him often. Let's combine all of these points and make an analogy with an exam that we might sit in this life. Have a think back to the last time you sat an exam. It could be a school exam or even a driving test. Now imagine if the examiner responsible for marking your examination made the following provisions for you in order to help you pass the exam. You have a lifetime to pass the exam. The exam has been tailored to you as an individual by considering your strengths and weaknesses. During the exam, if you make mistakes, you are given the opportunity to correct those mistakes. Any correct answers you give are worth 10 points, only 1 point is deducted for a wrong answer. The examiner has sent you the answers to the questions before you even take the exam. The examiner has provided you with an expert to tutor you on how to successfully pass the exam. With all these provisions in mind, if we are honest with ourselves, if any one of us were to fail the exam in such circumstances, would we really have anybody to blame but ourselves? God wants us to enter paradise. He has made it easy to do so. It's up to us to follow His guidance. Yes, the same old claims which once again lack any substance to them. Let me go through each point and see if it stands up to further scrutiny. Point 1. You have a lifetime to pass the exam. But how long is a lifetime? It can be 80 years or it can be 80 seconds. A newborn that dies from respiratory collapse will have no knowledge of any deity or Allah. Are they judged by that standard? What else is there to judge them by? Your own previous points on why we are all tested have ultimately become weapons to be used against you. Why should some be spared the test if they will automatically go to heaven, whilst others are not? If they are not spared, but rather judged, how is that then fair? Point 2. The exam has been tailored to you as an individual by considering your strengths and weaknesses. Well, if that is the case, then why does anyone die a non-believer? If your God does truly understand everything about a person and can match their weaknesses, then how do they fail? They cannot. The two conditions are mutually exclusive. Failure cannot come from perfection, as perfection is the antithesis of failure. Point 3. During the exam, if you make mistakes, you are given the opportunity to correct those mistakes, which only works if you know they are mistakes during the exam. Two Muslims often completely disagree on the same point. Even one Muslim may change their mind, such as Hamza Tzortzis, who once stated in public that beheading prescribed by Islamic law for apostates is painless and thus justified, before backpedaling with a weak apology following public backlash. You assert that these things are clear and that past transgressions can be corrected once you come to the faith, and yet those already within the faith cannot even begin to agree on these things. These two things you assert, and yet those already within the faith cannot even begin to agree on things. These two things, your assertion and the actual state of Islam, are contradictory. Point 4. Any correct answers you give are worth 10 points, only 1 point is deducted for a wrong answer. The problems with this are all over the place. The main one I can think of is the question of, if I do two things which are right by the Qur'an, could I then commit 19 crimes by what the Qur'an orders, yet still enter paradise? If I tallied my own score, and I would still be in the position by your own admission, meaning that my 19 acts of rape or 19 acts of murder would be nullified, would that mean I would enter paradise? To consider this system just is laughable. Point 5. The examiner has sent you the answers to the questions before you even take the exam. Okay, returning to what I noted earlier, this is not true by any sense. There are great chunks of the world which do not know of Islam, and even more people who cannot speak Arabic. That last point is vital, as Muslims attempt to use it as an excuse to ignore criticism of their text. Oh, you don't speak the original language, therefore you can't understand the true meaning. Well, how would it be good for the examiner to send you the answers to the test in Chinese if you are English and don't know Chinese? Where is the sense in that? Here is why that does not stand to scrutiny. The supposed purpose of the Qur'an is that it is the message for all of humanity, untainted and perfect. Then why, if designed to be a global message, does your God make it so easily corruptible? Some books translate well, others do not. If the author maintains publishing power, they can play a part in ensuring the former over the latter. Now, if he has power over literally everything, including the origins of language and the human brain, he has no excuse at all. Had Allah wanted, he surely could have made the Quran and Arabic so clear that it was impossible to mistranslate by accident. As for malicious warping, he could have made the human mind operate like the famous "pen is blue" scene from the movie Liar Liar. The possibilities are endless. Point 6. The examiner has provided you with an expert to tutor you on how to successfully pass the exam. The problem here is that Muhammad appears to have been nothing but a fraud. Returning to my previous point, One of the many errors the Qur'an makes can be seen in chapter 18, verses 86, which describes how the sun supposedly set in a muddy pool of water. For someone who apparently has access to the divine creator of the universe, they do seem to lack a primitive understanding of said universe. Now, if this is an error in translation or a badly expressed metaphor, that means that either the Quran was poorly written, or Allah was careless or unable to prevent corruption occurring. Both of those responses falsify the proposed perfect nature of the Quran, along with Allah. Both are thus a fatal blow to Islam and its teachings. Many of us go through life never contemplating topics like the Day of Judgment. We are more content just living our lives in the pursuit of happiness. Most of us just want to be happy, even when sometimes we can't pinpoint exactly what happiness is. We want to be content, live in ease, enjoy the company of our friends and family, and not be bogged down with the stresses and strains of daily living. This is why if you were to ask the average person why they want to get a job, they would reply, to earn enough to live comfortably. If you were to question them further and ask why they want to live comfortably, they would say, just like the rest of us, because I want to be happy. Happiness is an end, not a means. It is the final destination, not the journey. We want to be happy, and we seek ways to ensure that we achieve a happy state. What makes people happy varies from one person to the next. Some work hard for years to add degrees and career credentials to their names. Some work night and day to achieve that perfect figure. Some want the comforting love of a spouse or the bustle of a family. The list is endless. Whether it's through money, status, or through the love of others, everybody is involved in trying to get happy, live happily, and eventually just be happy. Which begs the question, what is true happiness? Well, actually, what the question is, what suggests there is a universal true happiness? Nothing. It's pure conjecture based upon what you desire to be the case, not what is actually the case. All we observe is that different things make different people happy. So to pretend that there must be something to unite all tastes is rather reductionist. Why does everybody have to be the same? Why not simply allow for difference so long as their happiness does not encroach on the happiness of others? Pretty basic. To answer these questions, consider the following. Imagine that we are reading this. You have been sedated against your will. Suddenly, you wake up to find yourself on a plane. You are in first class. You have your own cabin. The food is amazing. Your flatbed seat is designed for a luxurious, comfortable experience. The entertainment is limitless. The service is out of this world. You start to enjoy all the facilities. Think for a moment and ask yourself this question. Am I happy? How can you be? You need some questions answered first. How did you even get on the plane? Where is it headed to? If these questions remain unanswered, how can you ever be happy? Even if you started to enjoy all of the luxuries at your disposal, you would never achieve true happiness. Would that frothy Belgian chocolate mousse on your dessert tray be enough to drown out the questions? It would be a delusion, a pretended happiness, only achievable by deliberately ignoring and suspending these critical questions. How does that analogy even work? I am kidnapped and taken hostage against my will. stuffed in a cramped environment without the people I love and seemingly no ability to enrich my life through experiences I know exist. How did you think that would work as a good analogy? Apply this to your life. Now ask, am I happy? Until we fulfill the purpose of our creation, we can never be truly happy beings. We are here to worship God, which means knowing Him, loving Him, and obeying Him. Worshipping God is the ultimate purpose of our existence. It frees us from the slavery of ourselves, others, and society. God, in the Qur'an, presents us with a powerful example. God puts forward this illustration. Can a man who has for his masters several partners at odds with each other be considered equal to a man devoted wholly to one master? All praise belongs to God, though most of them do not know. If we don't worship God, we still end up worshipping many gods. Think about it. Our partners, our bosses, our teachers, our friends, the societies we live in, and even our own desires enslave us in some way. Take, for example, social norms. Many of us define our sense of beauty based on influential social pressures. We may have a range of likes and dislikes, but they are shaped by others. Ask yourself, why am I wearing these trousers or this skirt? Looking deeper than just saying you like it is to ask, why do you like it? If we keep on probing in this way, many will end up admitting, because other people like it and other people think I look nice. Unfortunately, many of these people will hold these views because they have been influenced by L'Oreal, because I'm worth it. You're not even trying to be creative. You have literally copied and pasted Hamza's speaking points. Not surprising, I guess, when Hamza himself copies and pastes many of his points originally. Am I therefore surprised at the fact that Hamza was set back at university for plagiarism and subsequently quit his course before completion? Not really. But going back to what was said, no, they are not gods in the slightest, and they do not enslave us. They influence us, but influence is not ownership. I can influence the flow of people in a subway by the use of floor layout. That does not then mean I own them. This is an incredibly half-baked understanding of what slavery refers to, which in many ways is very insulting. When you talk about slavery to Allah, you are referring to His right to use and abuse us for His personal ego jerk. That is not the same as me wanting to eat because I want to live, because I enjoy life. Maybe that's why you flopped so hard with the airplane analogy. You don't seem to grasp the basics of self-autonomy. In this respect, we have many masters, and they all want something from us. They are all at odds with each other, and we end up living confused, unfulfilled lives. God, who knows us better than we know ourselves, who loves us more than our mothers love us, is telling us that He is our true master. Worshipping Him truly frees us. Our coming into existence is no different from being sedated and thrown on a plane. We never chose our birth, yet many of us do not ask the questions or search for the answers that will help us achieve true happiness in this temporary life. The ultimate happiness is success in the eternal hereafter, and the happy future belongs to those who are mindful of Him. So then tell me why so many Muslims flee Islamic nations. If worship of Allah leads to a better state of life, why did the turmoil in the Middle East come around, allowing for faction after faction to spring up, with the most recent and notorious being ISIS? Now, I think it happened because a load of people screwed over another load of people. But with Allah supposedly in the picture, this ceases to be a logical response. You cannot blame these issues on the West if Allah allowed for them to occur and stood by silently as His most faithful began to tear each other apart. Also, this fails to account for so many individuals who truly live happy lives without Islam or any religion. Humanism skewers this assertion through and through with its positive message towards human life that emanates through so many of those who accept said philosophy. You may wish to pretend we do not exist, but that does not stop us actually existing. We can prove that we exist, like I am doing just now, unlike your proposed deity. And on that note, I think that is enough for today.